Nobody in Hollow Reed walks near the fields when it rains. Not after sunset. Not after the disappearances. The villagers believe the Reeds are alive. Watching. Waiting. 3 days ago, a photographer named Daniel vanished during a storm near the old farmland outside town. Search teams found nothing except his camera lying in the mud beside the Reeds. The footage inside should have been impossible. At first it looked normal. Rain falling softly. Wind moving through pale grass. Daniel speaking nervously behind the camera as he explored the abandoned field. Then the Reeds started moving strangely. Not swaying with the wind. Turning. Following him. Daniel laughed at first, until he noticed a woman standing deep within the field. She wore a long white dress soaked by rain. Her hair covered most of her face. But when the camera zoomed closer, Daniel stopped breathing. The woman had no face. Only smooth, pale skin where her eyes and mouth should have been. The camera shook violently. Daniel whispered something I could barely hear. "She's getting closer." For 11 seconds, the screen turned black. When the image returned, Daniel was gone. But the camera was still recording. Something else was holding it. And whatever held it was breathing slowly into the microphone. I replayed the footage alone inside my motel room that same night, frame by frame. And then I noticed the detail that changed everything. Right before Daniel disappeared, the Reeds behind him all bent in one direction, pointing towards something standing in the rain. Something tall enough to rise above the field itself. Lightning flashed across the screen for less than a second, long enough for me to see dozens of pale eyes staring from the darkness behind him. Watching, waiting, smiling. The next morning, I drove to the Reed fields alone. The entire village felt abandoned. No birds, no animals, only silence and endless gray skies above the hills. At the center of the field stood an old scarecrow tied together with black cloth. Its body leaned sideways unnaturally. As I stepped closer, my stomach tightened. Human teeth had been stitched into its mouth. Real teeth. Fresh ones. Suddenly my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I answered carefully. At first there was only static. Then breathing. Wet. Slow. Painful. "Don't let them hear you." It was Daniel's voice. The call disconnected immediately. The Reeds around me began shaking violently. Something was moving beneath them, circling me. Fast. Very fast. I backed away slowly, trying not to panic. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Soft. Dragging. I turned around. The faceless woman stood only a few meters away. Rainwater dripped from her white dress, even though the sky above us was clear. In her hands, she carried Daniel's camera. Still recording. The lens pointed directly at me. I tried to move, but my legs refused. Then the woman tilted her head slightly. Every Reed in the field bent toward me at once. That was when the screaming started. Not above ground. Below it. Hundreds of muffled voices crying beneath the soil, begging for help. I finally forced myself to run. Branches clawed at my skin as I sprinted through the field toward the road. But the footsteps behind me never stopped. Slow, patient, following. When I reached my car, I looked back one final time. The woman had vanished, but the scarecrow had moved. It now stood beside the road facing me, and pinned to its chest was a photograph of my face. That night the storm returned. Rain hammered against the motel windows so hard the glass shook. I locked every door and pushed a dresser against the entrance. Something about Hollow Reed no longer felt human. At exactly 2:13 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 slow taps. I froze instantly. Another 3 taps followed. Then a familiar voice whispered from outside. "Please let me in. Daniel." My blood turned cold. Daniel had disappeared 3 days earlier. Nobody could survive alone in those fields that long. The knocking became violent. The walls trembled with every hit. Suddenly, the motel window beside me fogged over. Words slowly appeared across the glass. "It found you." I grabbed my flashlight and stepped backward. Outside the window stood something impossibly tall. Its body twisted unnaturally in the rain like moving grass. Its skin looked woven together from pale reeds and wet roots. Then the creature leaned closer. and I saw Daniel's eyes staring from inside its face. Alive, moving, watching me. The thing smiled slowly. Its jaw stretched wider than humanly possible. Then every light inside the room died instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. From somewhere inside the hallway came the sound of wet footsteps. Not one pair, dozens, moving together toward my room. The whispers returned softly through the darkness. Only now I understood them clearly. Don't let the rain touch you. A cold drop landed on my hand from the ceiling above. Black water dripped slowly onto my skin, and where it touched me, my flesh turned pale white, like the reeds waiting outside. I should have left Hollow Reed the next morning. Instead, I searched for answers. At the edge of the village stood an abandoned church hidden beneath fog and dead vines. Inside, dust covered everything except the basement door. Someone had been there recently. I forced the door open and climbed down into darkness. Beneath the church, I found shelves filled with old videotapes. Every tape had a year written across it: 1956, 1966, 1976, 1986, always 10 years apart. Hands shaking, I placed one into the old television nearby. The footage showed the same reed field during a storm. A different missing person appeared in every tape, and somewhere behind them stood the faceless woman, watching silently. Then I discovered the final tape. 2036, 10 years in the future. I inserted it slowly. Static filled the screen before the image finally appeared. My heart nearly stopped. The person holding the camera was me. I stood alone in the reeds beneath black skies. My skin looked pale, stretched, wrong. Slowly, the future version of me turned toward the camera and whispered, "You were chosen the moment you watched the footage." The screen glitched violently. Behind me stood hundreds of people buried waist deep in the reeds, still alive, still breathing, unable to escape. Then I recognized one face among them, Daniel. His eyes widened in terror as he screamed directly into the camera. "It's not the field." The television suddenly went black. At that exact moment, thunder exploded above the church. I ran upstairs. The front doors stood wide open. Rain poured from the sky again, and every villager in Hollow Reed stood silently outside waiting for me. I ran toward my car without looking back, but the village road was gone. Where the road should have been, there was only reeds stretching endlessly beneath dark skies. The church had vanished. So had the houses. The entire village was gone. Only the field remained. Then I saw them. Thousands of human figures standing silently among the reeds. Some old, some young, some buried almost completely beneath the earth, all staring upward at the storm above them. At the center of the field stood the faceless woman waiting for me. Slowly she raised one hand. The rain stopped instantly. Every whisper vanished. Silence swallowed the world. Then the woman touched her face and peeled it away. There was no skin underneath, only darkness. Living darkness twisting like a hole inside reality itself. From that darkness emerged hundreds of human hands reaching outward desperately, pulling, searching, hungry. That was when I finally understood the truth. The reeds were never haunted. They were feeding. Every 10 years, the storm opened something ancient beneath the earth, something that used human shapes to lure people closer. And everyone taken by the field was still alive inside it, including Daniel. Suddenly, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered slowly and heard my own voice whisper, "You shouldn't have come back." Cold fingers touched the back of my neck. My phone screen lit up one final time. In the reflection behind me, I saw myself standing deep within the reeds, smiling, even though I was still holding the phone. Then the call disconnected, and somewhere inside the endless field, something began walking toward me.